just got back from the Sony event where we got to check out the Move for the first time. Not necessarily sold on the name yet, but I'll give it some time. I was actually really surprised. It seemed to have all the stuff that you'd expect from a motion controller, right? The Wii kind of set the standard, but there's a lot more precision to it, and it just seemed like there was a lot more there for not only like players to discover, but developers too.
Okay, so I got to play 2 games. There's a bowling game, because when you get motion controls you have to have a bowling game, and it feels pretty much what you'd expect a bowling game to be like with motion controls. The more interesting one was SOCOM 4. You actually needed the sub-controller, the PlayStation Move sub-controller with that, and I gotta say, using the Move and the sub-controller felt like you were just playing a Wii first-person shooter, but in HD. So I'll have to see how, I'll have to get more hands-on time with the actual shooter mechanic of it to see how well it goes. But at this stage, it seems like it's going to be a lot of party games, and we've already seen that before.
I played Motion Fighters. You know what I expected, what everyone had been talking about, the little glowing orb. The whole pastel color thing kind of strikes me as funny, but I think that might be because I played Motion Fighters, which is like this black and white gritty street brawling thing, and having these little puffs on top just kind of seemed incongruous, but I gotta admit, when I was actually playing, I didn't really see the color. I was focused on the game. I didn't get to use the sub-controller, though I will say that I think that name is kind of ridiculous. Like, what you can't, I mean, Move, fine, like that's catchy. It's something you just say, it's quick, but sub-controller? Actual punching and holding those things, they're pretty light. And you know, your thumbs rest easily. You've got all the PlayStation buttons, square, X, triangle, circle. Then you got new action buttons and the triggers there. So there's a lot of stuff like right at your fingertips when you're playing. You know, those buttons were used in the Motion Fighters game to modify between clean hits and dirty hits. So the difference between a punch to the face and an elbow to the face. Super easy, and they're light. They feel lighter than a Wii remote. The game I played was still in a very pre-alpha state, so it was hard to gauge exactly how responsive the end product was gonna be, but I'm optimistic. It's shaping up well, and you know, I just hope that it comes in like a nice lime green.
So my gut reaction to the PlayStation Move press conference was, I was kind of ticking off in my head all of the games that had been on the Wii that were being aped by the PlayStation Move. So you've got the table tennis game, and you've got the Wii Sports game, and the one that I played, which was Move Party ! Is a collection of party games. And so I was kind of left a little bit underwhelmed overall, but I'm sure that there'll be exciting opportunities for developers to take the technology and do some cool stuff with it. And the one thing I will say is, playing with it, it's much more accurate than what I've experienced on the Wii, so that's one cool thing.
Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Well, it's like, okay, the tech seems really cool, and it actually looks like it's one-to-one, and the little time I spent with iPad, it was moving really realistically. But I don't know how that translates to a fun game, because it works really well for sports, as we saw with Wii Sports, and it's, you know, super precise. I don't know how it works outside of sports, and they didn't really show anything outside of sports that's going to make me run and jump and get this in the fall. So I'm still like, you know, here I am, entertain me, Sony, and I'm eager to see what they're going to do, but they have a lot to do before they impress me, I guess.
Stories. I was really impressed with the hardware of the device. The way they sort of like project the images of the objects that you're holding onto the screen in real time looks really cool and responsive. And it moves, it totally seems to move on like a 1-to-1 ratio. That part's cool. The big question is like, what sort of games are they gonna offer for this? Because I mean, the game I played, I had a fun time with it, but then again, I totally applied the Sean method to it, which is I was a reality TV show contestant. I had to design my own fashion line in this game called TV Superstars. So I made a character who looked like a hobo who had no fashion sense whatsoever, and his makeup looked like the Joker from Dark Knight. And I went out on stage and I did some vogues and I did some motion gestures and stuff like that. Seems like a neat party game, but I don't know if that's really something to launch an entire like new peripheral around. So the big question is like, what sort of games are we gonna see as we get closer to the launch of this Move thing?
The games could have been more exciting. I think everybody's probably said that by now. But they kind of serve their purpose. They gave you kind of an idea of what's possible with it, and now it's really up for developers. This just kind of takes me back to the good old days of when Sega and Nintendo were competing, and it was just trying to top each other with software. And I hope anyway, that that's what's going to happen here. Because it really is just going to come down to people doing something really cool with motion control that's going to make them seem cooler than the other one. And now it really just comes down to who's got the better developers.